I'm going to steal their Christmas.
You're a mean one, mister.
Behold, the cookie. This is our enemy. No, no, no. We must resist. This is the loudest.
Is this mean fellow with his skin all green and his teeth all yellow?
We will drop the sleigh from the roof, okay? Go team! Most snow I've ever heard in my life! I'm gonna become Santa, then I need...
You got termites in your smile.
If I'm gonna... need to get into character. It's... go time. We'll be riding in style.
You're a monster. Your heart's an empty
Now,
hole.
ho,
All them you got axe, max hours, player, decoration, I tear 'em down the ground. This mean fellow with his skin all green. Ayo. Who is green and his teeth all yellow?
Next, I'm promoting. What? Thank you. You will guide my sleigh tonight. Max? Yes! Max! Max, you know the rules. Max, did you teach him rules? You sleep in your bed, and I sleep in. Fine. Puppy eyes.
The Grinch, 2018, is more than just a Christmas animated movie. It's a story about loneliness, kindness, and change hidden behind a green, grumpy face. A character who hates Christmas ends up teaching us its true meaning. Welcome to Mscinemafilmreviews, where today we bring you an honest review of The Grinch, 2018, along with interesting facts you probably didn't know. Thighs. Dr. Seuss' The Grinch, also known simply as The Grinch, is a 2018 American animated Christmas comedy film. It is based on the famous book How the Grinch Stole Christmas, written by Dr. Seuss. This movie is the third time the story has been adapted for the screen. Before this version, the story was told in a 1966 animated television special and later in a 2000 live-action movie. The film was produced by Universal Pictures along with Illumination. It was directed by Scott Mosier and Yarrow Cheney, while the screenplay was written by Michael Essier and Tommy Swerdlow. The movie is narrated by Pharrell Williams. Benedict Cumberbatch gives his voice to the character of the Grinch, while Rashida Jones, Kenan Thompson, and Angela Lansbury appear in supporting roles. The story centers on the Grinch, who decides to ruin Christmas in the town of Whoville by stealing all the decorations and presents, with only his loyal dog Max by his side. The film was first announced in 2013. By the year 2016, Benedict Cumberbatch had been chosen to voice the Grinch, and Yarrow Cheney along with Peter Kendall were announced as the directors. Later, in 2018, Scott Mosier replaced Peter Kendall and joined the project as co-director. The music for the film was created by composer Danny Elfman. In addition to the background score, a special song for the movie was written and performed by Tyler, the Creator. The Grinch was released in the United States on November 9, 2018, by Universal Pictures. The film received mixed reactions from critics, with some praising its animation and voice acting while others felt it lacked emotional depth. Despite the mixed reviews, the movie was a huge success at the box office. It earned around $540 million worldwide, making it the highest-grossing Christmas film of all time and also the most successful film adaptation of a Dr. Seuss story. In the town of Whoville, the Whos are excited and busy preparing to celebrate Christmas. Everyone is happy and full of joy, except for one creature, the Grinch. He is a grumpy, bad-tempered, green-furred character whose heart is said to be 2 sizes too small. The Grinch lives alone in a cave on Mount Crumpet with only his loyal dog, Max, for company. He rarely visits Whoville and only goes there when he needs to buy groceries. One day, a kind 6-year-old girl named Cindy Lou, who notices that her single mother, Donna, is exhausted from trying to manage everything by herself while also taking care of Cindy Lou and her twin baby brothers, Buster and Ben. Wanting to help her mother, Cindy Lou first decides to write a letter to Santa Claus asking for help. However, after meeting the Grinch, he jokingly tells her that if the problem is so serious, she should speak to Santa in person. Taking his words seriously, Cindy Lou plans to go to the North Pole to meet Santa herself. When her mother explains that traveling to the North Pole would take a whole month, Cindy Lou changes her plan and decides to catch Santa instead, with help from her friends. After a failed attempt to ruin Whoville's tree lighting ceremony, the Grinch begins to remember painful moments from his lonely and unhappy childhood. These memories overwhelm him, and he decides that the only way to stop his sadness is to steal Christmas from the hoes. To carry out his plan, the Grinch and Max find a large reindeer, whom the Grinch names Fred, and steal a sleigh from their neighbor, Bricklebam. After testing the sleigh, the Grinch discovers that Fred has a family. Feeling emotional for the first time in a long while, the Grinch agrees to let Fred return home to his family. On Christmas Eve, the Grinch creates a Santa Claus disguise and builds many tools and gadgets to help him steal Christmas. Max replaces Fred and pulls the sleigh as they head down into Whoville. While carrying out his plan, the Grinch accidentally falls into a trap set by Cindy Lou and meets her again. She asks him to help reduce her mother's stress and suggests that listening to the Who's Christmas singing might help ease his sadness. Her words affect the Grinch deeply, but even then, he continues with his plan because he cannot let go of the loneliness and pain that Christmas reminds him of. After stealing all the gifts and decorations, the Grinch and Max return to Mount Crumpet to throw them away. The Who's wake up on Christmas morning and are shocked to find everything missing. Cindy Lou feels guilty, thinking her trap caused the problem, but her mother comforts her by explaining that Christmas is not about presents. She tells Cindy Lou that she herself is the greatest gift in her life. The Who's then gather together and sing Welcome Christmas, surprising the Grinch, who cannot understand why they are still celebrating without their gifts. Watching Cindy Lou and remembering her advice, the Grinch listens to their singing, and in that moment, his heart grows 3 times its original size. Suddenly, the sleigh begins to slide off the edge of Mount Crumpet. The Grinch struggles to save it, and just when things seem hopeless, Fred and his family arrive to help him. With their help, the Grinch manages to stop the sleigh. Realizing the mistake he made, the Grinch and Max ride the sleigh back down to Whoville to return everything they stole. The Grinch apologizes sincerely to the Who's before heading back to his cave. Later, feeling sympathy for the Grinch, Cindy Lou invites him and Max to celebrate Christmas at her home. The Grinch awkwardly accepts the invitation and joins them for dinner. While sitting at the table, he finally understands that it was never Christmas itself that he hated, but his loneliness and bitterness from being ignored for so long. In the end, the Grinch accepts the Who's friendship, raises a toast, and truly enjoys Christmas with them at last. The story of the 2018 animated film The Grinch unfolds in the whimsical town of Whoville, a place brimming with holiday cheer where the residents, known as the Who's, prepare enthusiastically for Christmas. The narrative centers on the Grinch, a reclusive, green-furred creature who resides in a cave atop Mount Crumpet with his loyal dog, Max. From the outset, the Grinch's disdain for Christmas is evident. He ventures into Whoville only for necessities like groceries, avoiding the festive atmosphere that overwhelms him. His grumpy demeanor is portrayed through various antics, such as deliberately causing minor chaos in the town, which sets the tone for his character as a misanthrope shaped by past traumas. Parallel to the Grinch's storyline is that of young Cindy Lou Who, a 6-year-old girl voiced with innocence and determination. Cindy Lou observes her single mother, Donna Who, struggling with the demands of raising her and her twin infant brothers, Buster and Ben, while working tirelessly. Motivated by empathy, Cindy Lou hatches a plan to alleviate her mother's burden. Initially, she intends to write a letter to Santa Claus asking for help, but after a chance encounter with the Grinch who sarcastically suggests she speak to Santa in persona, she decides on a more ambitious scheme, traveling to the North Pole herself. When Donna explains the impracticality of such a journey, Cindy Lou shifts her focus to setting a trap for Santa on Christmas Eve, Enlisting her friends Rupert, Ozzy, Ixel, and Izzy to assist. The Grinch's plot to sabotage Christmas escalates after he fails to disrupt Whoville's annual tree lighting ceremony, an event overseen by Mayor Mcgurkle. This failure triggers flashbacks to his lonely childhood in an orphanage, where he felt overlooked during the holidays, providing backstory that humanizes his bitterness. Determined to end the host's celebrations, the Grinch devises a plan to steal Christmas. He recruits a plump reindeer named Fred and commandeers a sleigh from his overly cheerful neighbor, Mr. Bricklebam, who mistakenly believes the Grinch is his best friend. During a test run of his gadgets, the Grinch bonds with Fred but ultimately releases him to rejoin his family, showcasing a glimmer of compassion beneath his gruff exterior. On Christmas Eve, disguised as Santa Claus with Max as his reluctant reindeer, the Grinch executes his heist. Using high-tech inventions like a vacuum device and a drone, he pilfers decorations, trees, and gifts from every home in Whoville, moving silently through the snow-covered streets. His operation hits a snag when he falls into Cindy Lou's trap. Mistaking him for Santa, she shares her selfless wish to lighten her mother's load and encourages him to listen to the host singing as a remedy for sadness. This interaction plants a seed of doubt in the Grinch, but he proceeds with the theft, driven by his deep-seated loneliness. Retreating to Mount Crumpet with his haul, the Grinch anticipates gloating over the host's despair. Instead, on Christmas morning, the hosts awaken to empty homes but respond with resilience. Cindy Lou, feeling responsible, confesses her trap to Donna, who reassures her that Christmas transcends material gifts and that family bonds are paramount. The hosts gather in the town square and begin singing Welcome Christmas, their voices echoing up the mountain. Perplexed at first, the Grinch immerses himself in the melody, which causes his heart of famously 2 sizes too small to grow 3 sizes, symbolizing his emotional transformation. In a climactic sequence, the overloaded sleigh teeters on the edge of a cliff. Fred and his reindeer family arrive to help stabilize it, allowing the Grinch to return everything to Whoville. He confesses his actions and apologizes publicly. Touched by his vulnerability, Cindy Lou invites him and Max to her family's Christmas dinner. Amid the warmth of the gathering, the Grinch realizes his hatred stemmed not from the holiday itself but from his isolation. He carves the roast beast, toasts to kindness, and integrates into the community, marking his redemption. This plot structure adheres closely to Dr. Seuss's original 1957 book How the Grinch Stole Christmas. While expanding subplots for emotional depth, the addition of Cindy Lou's proactive role in the Grinch's backstory adds layers, making the narrative more relatable for modern audiences. The film's pacing balances humor, such as the Grinch's gadget-filled heist, with poignant moments, ensuring a family-friendly adventure that clocks in at 86 minutes. Character analysis. At the heart of the film is the Grinch himself, voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch with an American accent that conveys both sarcasm and underlying vulnerability. Unlike previous portrayals, this Grinch is less monstrous and more of a curmudgeonly loner, his green fur and pointed features rendered in vibrant CGI to emphasize his outsider status. His character arc revolves around isolation. Flashbacks reveal an orphan childhood where he crafted a makeshift Santa doll, only to be disappointed by the lack of reciprocation. This backstory, absent from the original book, explains his aversion to Christmas noise and cheer as a defense mechanism against pain. Throughout the film, his interactions with Max and his faithful, expressive doggy highlight his capacity for loyalty, as Max's antics provide comic relief and moments of tenderness, like when the Grinch plays the organ dramatically or shares coffee with his pet. Cindy Lou, who emerges as a co-protagonist, her wide-eyed optimism contrasting the Grinch's cynicism. Voiced by Cameron Sealy, she embodies selflessness, prioritizing her mother's well-being over personal desires. Her ingenuity in setting the Santa trap demonstrates resourcefulness, while her empathetic conversation with the Santa Grinch underscores themes of understanding. Cindy Lou's character expands beyond the book's brief mention, giving her agency and depth, which critics have praised for adding heart to the story. Donna, who, portrayed by Rashida Jones, represents the everyday struggles of parenthood, as a single mother juggling work and family. Her exhaustion is palpable, yet her unwavering love for her children shines through. This character adds a contemporary layer, addressing themes of work-life balance and appreciation for caregivers, resonating with adult viewers. Supporting characters enrich the world of Whoville. Mr. Bricklebam, voiced by Kenan Thompson, is the epitome of holiday enthusiasm, his oblivious friendship with the Grinch providing slapstick humor, such as when he gifts the Grinch fruitcakes or engages in snowball fights. Mayor Gurkle, with Angela Lansbury's regal voice, adds authority to the town's festivities. The narrator, Pharrell Williams, delivers Sishan rhymes with a modern flair, guiding the audience through the tale without overpowering the visuals. Fred the reindeer and Max the dog steal scenes with their nonverbal expressiveness. Fred's brief arc of recruitment and release mirrors the Grinch's growth, while Max's loyalty pulling the sleigh, fetching items, and offering silent companionship makes him a fan favorite, often cited in reviews for his adorable animations. Overall, the characters are designed to be relatable and multifaceted, blending Seuss's whimsy with emotional realism. This approach allows the film to explore personal growth, making it more than a simple holiday caper. Voice cast and performances. Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as the Grinch is a standout, infusing the character with wit and pathos. Opting for an American accent despite studio suggestions for his natural British one, Cumberbatch captures the Grinch's gruff exterior while hinting at inner turmoil. His delivery of lines like, "Well, Santa had 8 reindeer, he looks like he ate the other 7, referring to Fred, blends humor and sarcasm, earning praise for elevating the script. Cameron Seeley, a young actress, brings authenticity to Cindy Lou Who. Her voice conveys genuine kindness, particularly in emotional scenes like her trap confrontation, where her plea touches the Grinch. Reviewers note her performance adds sincerity, making Cindy Lou a compelling foil. Rashida Jones lends warmth to Donna Who, her nuanced portrayal highlighting quiet strength. Kenan Thompson's comedic timing shines as Bricklebam, his enthusiastic delivery amplifying the character's jolliness. Angela Lansbury, in one of her final roles, provides gravitas as Mayor Gurkle. Pharrell Williams' narration adds a rhythmic, contemporary touch, though some critics found it intrusive. Additional voices, like Tristan O'Hare as Groupert and Sam Levinino as Ozzy, flesh out Cindy Lou's friend group with youthful energy. The cast's chemistry, even in voice-only roles, contributes to the film's charm, with Cumberbatch's versatility often highlighted as a key strength. Production history. The 2018 The Grinch originated from Illumination Entertainment's ambition to adapt Dr. Seuss classics. Announced in February 2013 as a 3D animated feature titled How the Grinch Stole Christmas, it was later shortened to The Grinch. Peter Kendall and Yarrow Cheney were initially attached as directors, but by early 2018, Scott Mosier replaced Kendall as co-director. Produced by Chris Meledandri and Janet Healy, the film marked Illumination's second Seuss adaptation after The Lorax, 2012. Development emphasized fidelity to the source while expanding for feature length. Writers Michael Lesier and Tommy Swerdlow crafted the script, incorporating new elements like the Grinch's backstory and Cindy Lou's subplot. Audrey Geisel, Dr. Seuss's widow and executive producer, oversaw the project, ensuring it honored her husband's vision. Tragically, it was the last Seuss film released during her lifetime, as she passed away on December 19, 2018. Casting began with Cumberbatch in April 2016, followed by the ensemble. The production budget was $75 million, reflecting Illumination's efficient animation pipeline. Originally slated for November 10, 2017, the release was delayed to November 9, 2018, to refine the film. This production history underscores Illumination's strategy of blending nostalgia with innovation, resulting in a polished holiday offering. Animation and visual style. Illumination MacGuff in Paris, France, handled the animation, utilizing software like Maya, Sprush, Nuke, and in-house tools. The visual style captures Seuss's illustrative whimsy in 3D CGI, with Whoville rendered as a colorful, snow globe-like town featuring curved architecture, twinkling lights, and intricate details like candy cane lampposts and ornament-shaped houses. The Grinch's design is softer than past versions, with expressive fur and eyes that convey emotion. Animators focused on fluid movements, such as the Grinch's gadget deployments during the heist, blending slapstick with high-tech flair. Max's animations are particularly praised for their lifelike dog behaviors, adding humor through exaggerated expressions. Backgrounds, like Mount Crumpet's icy cave with organ pipes and gadgetry, contrast Whoville's warmth. Color palettes shift from cool blues and greens for the Grinch's isolation to vibrant reds and golds for holiday scenes. The aspect ratio of 2.35:1 enhances the epic feel of sequences like the sleigh chase. Critics commend the animation's vibrancy, noting it immerses viewers in Seuss's world without overwhelming the story. This technical prowess contributes to the film's appeal as a visual feast for families. Music and soundtrack: Danny Elfman composed the score, infusing it with whimsical orchestration that echoes Seuss's rhythmic style. Tracks build tension during the heist and swell emotionally during the hard growth scene. The soundtrack features modern twists on classics. Tyler, the creator, contributed I Am the Grinch and reimagined You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, performed with a hip-hop pitch that divided opinions as some found it fresh, others mismatched. Other songs include Pentatonix's God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen for carolers and the Jackson 5's Santa Claus Is Comin' to Town. Pharrell Williams' narration incorporates musical elements, enhancing the festive atmosphere. The album, released digitally and on CD, includes Elfman's score and Tyler's tracks. While the music supports the narrative's energy, reviews are mixed, with praise for Elfman's work and criticism for the contemporary infusions, themes and messages. The film delves into themes of loneliness and redemption. The Grinch's isolation stems from childhood neglect, illustrating how past hurts can manifest as bitterness. His transformation emphasizes that change comes from connection, as the host singing and Cindy Lou's kindness expand his heart. The true meaning of Christmas is central. Beyond gifts, it's about community, forgiveness, and selflessness. Cindy Lou's wish for her mother highlights appreciation for caregivers, while Donna's reassurance underscores family bonds. Kindness and empathy recur, as characters like Bricklebum extend friendship despite rejection. The narrative promotes inclusivity, showing even outsiders can find belonging. Compared to the original, this version amplifies emotional depth, making themes accessible for children while resonant for adults. Critics note its sincerity in conveying holiday spirit without preachiness. Comparisons to previous adaptations: this 2018 version is the third major adaptation of Dr. Seuss's book, following the 1966 TV special narrated by Boris Karloff and the 2000 live-action film starring Jim Carrey. The animated format aligns closely with the 1966 special's charm, using CGI to expand visuals while retaining rhyme and whimsy. Unlike the 2000 film's darker, more monotonia with Carrey's exaggerated physicality, this iteration softens the Grinch, focusing on emotional backstory rather than gross-out humor. It avoids the live-action's added subplots like romantic interests, opting for family-centric expansions. The 1966 special's brevity, 26 minutes, contrasts the feature's length, allowing deeper character exploration. While all share the core plot, the 2018 film's modern animation and voice talent update it for new generations, though some argue it lacks the original's innovation. Marketing and release: Universal Pictures launched a $121 million marketing campaign, including billboards with the Grinch's ironic messages like "I'm sorry, did my stealing Christmas ruin your day?" Partnerships with brands like IOP, Grinch-themed pancakes, and 23andMe amplified reach. A giant Grinch balloon debuted at the 2017 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, building anticipation. Trailers featured Tyler's You're a Mean One, generating buzz. Released on November 9, 2018, in the US, the film targeted the holiday season. International rollouts followed, with alternate versions like the UK's cut for mild language. Home media arrived in February 2019, including shorts like The Dog Days of Winter, extending its lifespan. Critical reception was mixed, with a 60% Rotten Tomatoes score, average 6/10, from 195 reviews, praising animation but critiquing lack of originality. Metacritic's 51/100 reflects mixed or average views, while audiences gave an A cinema score. Positive reviews, like Alonzo Duralda's in the Wrap, lauded its warmth and wit. Owen Gleiberman in Variety appreciated its appeal to all ages. However, Glenn Kinney in the New York Times called it tepid, criticizing the soundtrack. Family-oriented outlets like Common Sense Media rated it 3.5 for its brightness but noted it doesn't surpass classics. Overall, it's seen as solid holiday fare, though not groundbreaking. Box office performance against a $75 million budget. The film grossed $540 million worldwide via $271.4 million domestically and $255.4 million internationally, yielding a $184.6 million profit. It topped the box office opening weekend with $67.6 million, surpassing the 2000 film's debut. Subsequent weekends maintained momentum, with $38.2 million in the second and $30.2 million over Thanksgiving. It became the highest-grossing Christmas movie and Seuss adaptation, benefiting from holiday timing and family appeal. Accolades and legacy. Nominated for Annie Awards in music, storyboarding, and editorial, it won the Art Directors Guild's Production Design Award. Critics' Choice and Producers Guild nods followed, plus Visual Effects Society nominations for effects and characters. Movie Guide Awards honored it as Best Movie for Families. At Kids' Choice Awards, it was nominated for Favorite Animated Movie and Male Voice. Its legacy lies in revitalizing Seuss for modern audiences, becoming a streaming staple and inspiring merchandise. As Illumination's hit, it reinforces the studio's family animation dominance. Trivia and behind-the-scenes facts. Trivia abounds. The studio wanted Cumberbatch's natural accent, but he insisted on American for consistency. The UK's release cut mild language for a U rating. The end credits show the Grinch inventing devices to help Donna, fulfilling Cindy Lou's wish. Behind the scenes, animation involved detailed modeling of Whoville using Substance Painter. Elfman and Tyler's collaboration on Your Mean One blended orchestral and hip-hop elements. The first footage aired during the 2018 Winter Olympics. Fun facts include Lansbury's role as her penultimate film appearance and the film's status as the last Seuss adaptation approved by Audrey Geisel. Production emphasized eco-friendly practices, aligning with Seuss's themes. The 2018 animated adaptation of Dr. Seuss's beloved Christmas tale represents Illumination Entertainment's ambitious effort to bring the iconic green character back to the big screen. The production process was marked by careful attention to maintaining the essence of the original story while expanding it for modern audiences. With a production budget of $75 million, the film utilized cutting-edge computer animation technology to create a visually stunning interpretation of Whoville and its most famous resident. Illumination Entertainment, known for their work on the Despicable Me franchise and The Lorax, brought their signature animation style to the project. The studio's approach emphasized bright, vibrant colors and expressive character designs that would appeal to contemporary family audiences. The production team worked extensively with Dr. Seuss Enterprises throughout the entire creative process, ensuring that every aspect of the film honored the spirit and intent of Theodore Geisel's original work while adapting it for a feature-length format. Chris Meledandri and Janet Healy served as producers on the film, bringing their extensive experience in animated feature production. Meledandri, as the founder and CEO of Illumination, had previously overseen successful Dr. Seuss adaptations including Horton Hears a Who and The Lorax for other studios. His commitment to staying true to Seuss's vision while making the material accessible to modern audiences became a guiding principle for the production. The producers assembled a team of talented animators, designers, and technical artists who would spend years bringing the world of Whoville to life. The animation studio Illumination MacGuff handled the character animation and computer graphics work. The team faced the considerable challenge of taking a story originally told in just 64 pages and expanding it into a feature film with sufficient narrative depth while maintaining the simplicity and charm that made the original so beloved. This required the creation of new subplots, expanded character development, and additional world building that would flesh out the brief glimpses Seuss provided of life in Whoville. The production design team invested significant effort into creating a distinctive visual aesthetic for the film. They developed Whoville as a fantastical winter wonderland filled with elaborate decorations, whimsical architecture, and an abundance of Christmas cheer. Every building, street, and decoration was carefully designed to reflect the Who's enthusiasm for the holiday season. The Grinch's Cave on Mount Crumpet, by contrast, was designed as a stark counterpoint to the colorful village below, filled with gadgets and contraptions that reflected both his isolation and his ingenuity. Character designs went through numerous iterations during the production process. The design team worked to create a version of the Grinch that would be visually distinct from previous adaptations while still remaining recognizable as the iconic character. Benedict Cumberbatch's Grinch featured softer, more rounded features compared to the angular, sinister look of earlier versions. This design choice reflected the film's overall approach of making the character more sympathetic and less terrifying, particularly for younger viewers. Max, the Grinch's loyal dog, was redesigned to be more adorable and expressive, serving as a source of both comedy and heart throughout the film. The production timeline extended over several years, with pre-production beginning around 2014 and continuing through the film's release in late 2018. This extended development period allowed the team to refine every aspect of the production, from the script to the animation to the final color correction. The technical complexity of computer animation meant that even small changes could require significant reworking of completed scenes, making careful planning essential. Illumination's production pipeline incorporated the latest advances in computer animation technology. The studio utilized sophisticated rendering software to create realistic textures for snow, fur, and fabric. The Grinch's green fur, in particular, required extensive technical development to achieve the right look and movement. Each strand of fur had to be individually modeled and animated to react naturally to the character's movements and the environmental conditions. This attention to detail extended to every element of the production, from the way light filtered through windows in Whoville to the sparkle of Christmas lights on snow-covered trees. The film was produced in three-dimensional format, with special attention paid to how scenes would appear in theaters equipped for 3D presentation. The production team designed action sequences and establishing shots with depth and dimensionality in mind, creating moments that would maximize the immersive potential of the format. However, they also ensured that the film would remain visually compelling in standard two-dimensional presentation, as most viewers would ultimately experience it in that format either in theaters or at home. Executive producer Audrey Geisel, Dr. Seuss's widow, maintained close involvement with the production until her death in December 2018, just 5 weeks after the film's theatrical release. Her participation ensured continuity with previous Seuss adaptations and provided valuable insight into her late husband's creative vision. This would be the final Dr. Seuss film adaptation completed during her lifetime, adding poignancy to her contributions to the project. The production faced the challenge of differentiating itself from both the beloved 1966 animated television special and the controversial 2000 live-action film starring Jim Carrey. The creative team studied both previous adaptations extensively, identifying what had worked well and what could be improved upon. They sought to strike a balance between honoring the original story and offering something new that would justify another adaptation of the frequently told tale. Voice recording sessions began well before animation work reached its peak, as the actors' performances would inform how the characters were ultimately animated. The production team recorded extensive reference footage of the voice actors as they performed their lines, capturing their facial expressions and body language. These recordings served as inspiration for the animators, who incorporated elements of the actors' physical performances into the animated characters. This process helped create characters that felt more grounded and emotionally authentic, despite the fantastical setting. The production schedule included multiple review stages where completed sequences were evaluated by the directors, producers, and studio executives. Feedback from these reviews often led to revisions and refinements, ensuring that every scene met the high standards Illumination had established for the project. This iterative process, while time-consuming, resulted in a polished final product that showcased the studio's commitment to quality animation. Development and pre-production. The journey to bring the Grinch back to theaters began in February 2013 when Illumination Entertainment announced their plans to develop a three-dimensional computer-animated feature film adaptation of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. The announcement marked the beginning of an extensive development process that would span several years before cameras rolled or animators began their work in earnest. The project was initially given the working title How the Grinch Stole Christmas before being shortened to simply The Grinch for marketing purposes. The early development phase focused on answering fundamental questions about how to adapt the concise source material into a feature-length narrative. Michael Lecier and Tommy Swerdlow were brought on board as screenwriters, tasked with the challenging assignment of expanding a 64-page picture book into a screenplay that could sustain an 85-minute runtime. The writers approached this challenge by developing new subplots and expanding on characters who received minimal attention in the original book. Most significantly, they created a much larger role for Cindy Lou Who, transforming her from a minor character who briefly encounters the Grinch into a central figure with her own narrative arc. The screenwriters developed Cindy Lou's story around her concern for her overworked single mother, Donna Who. This subplot added emotional depth to the film while maintaining the Christmas spirit that defined the original story. Rather than wanting presents for herself, Cindy Lou's desire to meet Santa Claus stems from her wish to ask him to help her mother. This selfless motivation reinforced the film's themes about the true meaning of Christmas while providing a contemporary angle that audiences could relate to. The writers also created twin infant brothers for Cindy Lou, named Buster and Ben, adding to the family dynamics and explaining why Donna Who finds herself so overwhelmed. Another significant addition to the narrative involved the Grinch's neighbor, Bricklebam, a relentlessly cheerful who attempts to befriend the reclusive creature despite his repeated rejections. This character, voiced by Kenan Thompson, served multiple purposes in the screenplay. He provided comic relief, offered insight into Who culture, and demonstrated the community's capacity for kindness and acceptance even toward someone who actively rejects them. Bricklebam's persistent friendliness toward the Grinch helped establish that the hosts weren't simply oblivious to the Grinch's misanthropy but chose to respond with kindness regardless. The writers also expanded on the Grinch's relationship with his dog Max, making their bond more explicitly affectionate than in previous adaptations. While earlier versions sometimes portrayed the Grinch as abusive or neglectful toward Max, the 2018 film depicted them as genuine companions who clearly care for each other. This choice made the Grinch more sympathetic from the start, suggesting that his grumpiness stemmed from loneliness and past hurt rather than inherent cruelty. The screenplay incorporated brief flashbacks to the Grinch's childhood, providing context for his alienation from Whoville and his hatred of Christmas. These sequences showed a younger Grinch missing out on Christmas celebrations, establishing his feelings of exclusion and abandonment. However, unlike the 2000 live-action film which provided extensive backstory involving childhood bullying, this version kept the Grinch's origin story relatively simple and understated. The writers deliberately avoided making him too much of a victim, maintaining some mystery about exactly what had turned him into the curmudgeon audiences meet at the film's beginning. The development phase also involved extensive work on the film's visual design and aesthetic direction. Concept artists created hundreds of designs exploring different approaches to Whoville's architecture, the Grinch's cave, and the characters themselves. The creative team studied the original Chuck Jones animated special extensively, analyzing what made its visual design so iconic while considering how to update those designs for modern audiences and three-dimensional computer animation. They examined the work of Dr. Seuss himself, studying his distinctive artistic style and considering how to translate it into the medium of CGI animation. Early concept artwork focused particularly on contrasting the Grinch's isolated world with the vibrant Whoville setting. The designers wanted to emphasize themes of consumerism and loneliness in a modern context while maintaining the whimsical quality that characterized Seuss's original work. The Grinch's cave was envisioned as a place of both ingenuity and sadness, filled with elaborate inventions that demonstrated his intelligence but also his inability to connect with others. Whoville, meanwhile, was developed as an explosion of Christmas excess, with decorations growing more elaborate and overwhelming as the holiday approached. The pre-production period saw significant changes in the film's directorial leadership. Initially, Peter Kendall and Yarrow Cheney were both attached as directors. Cheney brought experience from his work on Illumination's earlier projects, while Kendall came from a background in commercial and music video direction. However, in early 2018, producer Scott Mosier took over from Kendall as co-director, joining Chaney in leading the production. This marked Mosher's feature film directorial debut, though he brought extensive experience as a producer on Kevin Smith's films. The directorial change occurred relatively late in the pre-production process, requiring some adjustments to the production schedule and creative approach. Mosher and Chaney worked to establish a unified vision for the film, balancing the need to stay faithful to Dr. Seuss's original story with their desire to expand the emotional depth of the characters and relationships. They aimed to create a version of the Grinch that would appeal to audiences familiar with previous adaptations while offering something fresh and distinctive. Benedict Cumberbatch was cast as the voice of the Grinch in April 2016, bringing significant star power to the project. The casting of Cumberbatch, fresh off his success in Marvel's Doctor Strange and the BBC's Sherlock series, generated considerable media attention and helped elevate the film's profile. Interestingly, Illumination originally wanted Cumberbatch to use his natural British accent for the role. However, the actor felt strongly that the Grinch should speak with an American accent to match the rest of the predominantly American voice cast. This decision was made to maintain consistency within the film's world and ensure that the Grinch didn't feel out of place among the hosts. Cumberbatch's approach to the character focused on making the Grinch more relatable and less overtly villainous than some previous interpretations. While maintaining the character's grumpiness and antisocial behavior, Cumberbatch sought to convey underlying vulnerability and loneliness that would make audiences sympathetic to him even as he plotted to ruin Christmas. His vocal performance avoided the menacing growl of Boris Karloff's iconic narration from the 1966 special or the manic energy of Jim Carrey's live-action portrayal, instead opting for a tone that was more wary and world-weary than genuinely mean-spirited. Additional casting announcements followed throughout the pre-production period. Rashida Jones was cast as Donna Who, Cindy Lou's hard-working single mother. Kenan Thompson joined the cast as the enthusiastic Bricklebam. Cameron Sealy, who had recently appeared in The Greatest Showman, was cast as Cindy Lou Who, bringing youthful energy and genuine warmth to the character. In September 2018, Angela Lansbury was announced as the voice of the mayor of Whoville. This would prove to be one of Lansbury's final voice acting roles before her death in 2022, adding historical significance to the production. Pharrell Williams was brought on board to serve as the film's narrator, following in the footsteps of Boris Karloff, who had narrated the original television special. Williams's involvement extended beyond narration. The multi-talented artist would also contribute to the film's music as a producer and performer. His participation helped connect the film to contemporary music culture while his narration provided continuity with the classic adaptation that many audience members had grown up watching. The pre-production period involved extensive collaboration with Dr. Seuss Enterprises to ensure that the adaptation remained faithful to the spirit and intent of the original book. Representatives from the organization reviewed scripts, designs, and early animation tests, providing feedback and guidance throughout the development process. This partnership helped maintain continuity with other Dr. Seuss properties and ensured that the film would honor the author's legacy while adapting his work for a new generation. Storyboard artists worked extensively during pre-production to plan out every scene in the film. These detailed drawings served as a blueprint for the animation team, establishing camera angles, character positions, and the basic flow of action for each sequence. The storyboarding process allowed the directors and producers to experiment with different approaches to various scenes before committing the significant resources required for full animation. Multiple versions of key sequences were often storyboarded, allowing the creative team to compare different options and select the most effective approach. The pre-production phase also involved considerable technical planning. The animation team needed to determine exactly what tools and technologies would be required to achieve the visual style the directors envisioned. They conducted tests to perfect the look of the Grinch's fur, the texture of snow, and the way Christmas lights would illuminate nighttime scenes. These technical tests were essential for ensuring that the production would stay on schedule and within budget once full animation work began. Location scouting, while different from live-action films, still played a role in the pre-production process. The design team visited various winter locations to photograph snow, ice, and winter landscapes that would inform their digital environment creation. They studied how light interacted with snow at different times of day, how ice formations developed on buildings, and how winter weather affected the overall atmosphere of a location. These real-world observations helped ground the fantastical world of Whoville in authentic environmental detail. The pre-production period also involved planning the film's marketing strategy and promotional partnerships. Universal and Illumination began discussions with potential promotional partners who could help expand the film's reach and visibility. These early conversations would eventually result in partnerships with companies like Wonderful Pistachios, Agar, and 23andMe, though the specific details of these relationships were still being negotiated during the pre-production phase. Filming. The concept of filming in traditional terms doesn't apply to fully computer-animated productions like The Grinch, as there are no physical cameras, sets, or actors performing in front of cameras. However, the animation production process that replaces traditional filming is equally complex and time-consuming, involving hundreds of artists working for years to create the final product. The animation phase for The Grinch represented the bulk of the production timeline, with teams of animators bringing the characters and world to life frame by frame. The animation process began with layout, where virtual cameras were positioned within the digital environment and initial character positions were established for each shot. Layout artists essentially served as cinematographers, determining the composition, framing, and camera movement for every shot in the film. They worked closely with the directors to ensure that each scene would be visually dynamic while serving the story effectively. This phase required careful consideration of how scenes would work both in standard two-dimensional presentations and in three-dimensional theatrical presentations. Character animation represented the heart of the production process. Teams of specialized animators were assigned to different characters, with the most experienced artists typically handling the Grinch himself due to the complexity and importance of the character. Animators worked on individual scenes or sequences, creating the movement and performance for each character according to the storyboards and director's instructions. The process involved manipulating digital character models frame by frame, adjusting their positions, facial expressions, and body language to create the illusion of life and personality. The animation of the Grinch's face proved particularly challenging due to the need to convey a wide range of emotions through his distinctive features. Animators studied Benedict Cumberbatch's voice recordings and reference footage extensively, looking for ways to capture the subtleties of his performance in the animated character's expressions. They worked to ensure that the Grinch's eyes, which the original Dr. Seuss described as having termites in them, conveyed both his grumpiness and his underlying vulnerability. Every raised eyebrow, every slight smirk, and every moment of genuine emotion had to be carefully crafted to support the film's emotional journey. Max, the Grinch's loyal dog, required his own specialized animation approach. As a non-speaking character, Max had to communicate entirely through body language, facial expressions, and sounds. The animators studied real dogs extensively, observing how they moved, reacted, and expressed emotions. They then exaggerated and enhanced these natural behaviors to create a character that felt authentically dog-like while also being capable of more complex emotional expression than a real animal. Max's large, expressive eyes became a key tool for conveying his thoughts and feelings, allowing audiences to understand his perspective even without dialogue. The animation of the host presented its own unique challenges. The directors wanted the residents of Whoville to feel distinct from standard human characters, reflecting their fantastical nature while remaining relatable. The animators developed a slightly exaggerated movement style for the host, with bouncy, energetic movements that reflected their enthusiasm for Christmas and life in general. Each Who character was given distinctive traits and mannerisms that helped them feel like individuals rather than generic background characters. Cindy Lou Who required particularly careful animation as one of the film's central characters and its emotional heart. Her animation needed to convey childlike innocence and enthusiasm while also demonstrating the genuine concern she felt for her mother and the sincerity of her desire to help. The animators worked to ensure that her movements and expressions felt age appropriate, studying young children to capture authentic behaviors and mannerisms. Cameron Seeley's voice performance provided important guidance, with her natural warmth and earnestness informing how the character was animated. The technical process of animating the Grinch's elaborate fur proved to be one of the production's most significant technical challenges. Each frame of animation required simulating thousands of individual hairs that made up the character's distinctive fuzzy appearance. The fur had to react realistically to the character's movements, to wind, and to contact with objects and other characters. The technical team developed sophisticated software tools to manage this complexity, creating systems that would automatically generate appropriate fur behavior while still allowing animators to make adjustments when necessary. Similarly complex simulation work was required for other elements throughout the film. The abundant snow that blanketed Whoville and Mount Crumpet needed to look and behave realistically, accumulating on surfaces, compressing under weight, and flying through the air during snowfall. The elaborate Christmas decorations throughout Whoville, including countless strings of lights, garlands, and ornaments, all needed to be individually placed and animated. The team utilized procedural generation techniques to populate the town with decorations efficiently while ensuring that each area had its own distinctive character. The animation of the film's action sequences required particularly intensive work. The sequence where the Grinch steals Christmas from Whoville involved complex choreography as the character sneaked through houses, deployed various gadgets, and dealt with unexpected complications. Each of the Grinch's elaborate inventions needed to be designed and animated in detail, from the suction device that pulled decorations off houses to the mechanical arms that grabbed presents. These sequences showcased both the character's ingenuity and the production team's technical capabilities. Fred, the rotund reindeer who reluctantly becomes part of the Grinch's scheme, presented unique animation challenges due to his unusual body proportions and personality. The character needed to be simultaneously amusing and slightly pathetic, evoking both laughter and sympathy from audiences. His animation emphasized his ungainly movements and lack of traditional reindeer grace, creating comedy through physical performance. The later revelation that Fred has a family waiting for him added emotional weight that the animators needed to convey through subtle changes in the character's demeanor and body language. Throughout the animation process, the directors reviewed work in progress through regular daily sessions. These meetings allowed them to provide feedback, request changes, and ensure that the animation remained consistent with their vision for the film. Scenes often went through multiple iterations as animators refined performances based on directorial notes. This iterative process, while time-consuming, ensured that the final animation met the high standards expected of an illumination production. The lighting of the film played a crucial role in establishing mood and atmosphere throughout the story. Lighting artists worked scene by scene to place virtual lights that would illuminate the characters and environments appropriately. The warm, glowing lights of Whoville during the Christmas season contrasted sharply with the cold, dim atmosphere of the Grinch's cave. As the story progressed, the lighting helped chart the Grinch's emotional journey, with his world gradually becoming brighter and warmer as his heart grew. The nighttime sequence where the Grinch steals Christmas required particularly careful lighting work to maintain visibility while preserving the darkness necessary for his subterfuge. The film's three-dimensional presentation received special attention throughout the animation process. While many modern animated films are converted to 3D in post-production, the Grinch was designed with stereoscopic presentation in mind from the beginning. This meant that animators and layout artists needed to consider depth and dimensionality in their work, creating compositions that would be effective in 3 dimensions. Certain scenes were specifically designed to showcase the 3D effect, with objects and characters positioned at varying depths to create a sense of immersion. Effects animation added another layer of complexity to the production. This specialized discipline handled elements like snow, wind, fire, and other natural phenomena that required sophisticated simulation systems. The abundant snowfall throughout the film needed to look realistic while maintaining the stylized aesthetic of the overall production. Effects artists also created the magical sparkle of Christmas lights, the glow of fireplaces, and the various mechanical effects associated with the Grinch's inventions. The animation phase extended over multiple of years, with different sequences at various stages of completion at any given time. As some scenes entered final rendering, others were still being blocked out by layout artists or refined by character animators. This staggered production schedule allowed for maximum efficiency, with different specialized teams working on different aspects of the film simultaneously. However, it also required careful coordination to ensure consistency across the entire production. Post-production. The post-production phase of The Grinch involved assembling all the various elements created during animation into a cohesive final product. This process encompassed everything from rendering the final images to editing the film to mixing the audio to color correction and visual effects finalization. Post-production represented the final opportunity to refine and polish the film before it reached audiences. Rendering, the process of converting the animated digital files into final images, represented one of the most computationally intensive aspects of post-production. Each frame of the film required significant processing power to calculate lighting, shadows, reflections, textures, and all the other visual elements that made up the final image. A single frame could take hours to render, meaning that the 85-minute film, consisting of over 100,000 individual frames, required massive computing resources. Illumination utilized render farms with thousands of processors working around the clock to complete this task. The rendering process had to be carefully managed to ensure consistency across the entire film. Color values, lighting intensity, and other technical parameters needed to remain consistent from scene to scene to avoid jarring visual discontinuities. Technical directors monitored the rendering process closely, watching for any errors or anomalies that might require scenes to be re-rendered. This quality control was essential for maintaining the professional polish expected of a major theatrical release. Chris Cartagena served as the film's editor, working closely with directors Yarrow Cheney and Scott Mosier to assemble the final cut of the film. While much of the film's structure has been established during the storyboarding and animation phases, editorial decisions made during post-production significantly impacted the final product's pacing and rhythm. The editor determined the exact timing of cuts, the length of shots, and the overall flow of sequences. These decisions affected everything from the effectiveness of jokes to the emotional impact of dramatic moments. The editing process involved making difficult choices about what to include in the final film. Like most productions, The Grinch likely had scenes or sequences that were completed but ultimately cut from the final version. These cuts might have been made to improve pacing, tighten the narrative, or reduce the runtime to a more audience-friendly length. While specific information about deleted scenes from The Grinch's production isn't extensively documented, most animated features go through this winnowing process during post-production. Sound design and mixing represented another crucial aspect of post-production. The sound team needed to create audio for every element in the film, from the crunch of snow underfoot to the mechanical whirring of the Grinch's inventions to the ambient sounds of Whoville during its Christmas celebration. Many of these sounds were recorded specifically for the film, while others came from sound effects libraries. The sound designers worked to create an immersive audio environment that would enhance the visual storytelling and draw audiences deeper into the world of the film. The mixing process involved balancing all the various audio elements, dialogue, sound effects, and music, into a cohesive soundscape. Mixers worked to ensure that dialogue remained clear and intelligible while sound effects provided appropriate emphasis and environmental detail without overwhelming the voices. The music needed to be prominent enough to contribute to the emotional tone of scenes without drowning out other important audio elements. Multiple audio mixes were created for different presentation formats, including standard theatrical presentation, IMAX theaters, and various home video formats. Color correction represented the final step in perfecting the film's visual presentation. Colorists worked scene by scene to adjust the color, contrast, and brightness of the rendered images, ensuring visual consistency throughout the film while also using color to enhance storytelling. Whoville's scenes were given warm, saturated colors that emphasize the joyful Christmas atmosphere, while the Grinch's cave received cooler, more muted tones that reflected his isolation and grumpiness. As the Grinch's emotional journey progressed, subtle shifts in the color grading helped convey his changing state of mind. The creation of the film's title sequence, opening credits, and end credits occurred during post-production. These elements needed to set appropriate tones for the beginning and end of the film while providing necessary information about the cast and crew. The end credits were particularly elaborate, featuring additional animation and musical performances that extended the viewing experience beyond the main narrative. Post-production also involved creating versions of the film for different markets and formats. This included preparing the master files for different aspect ratios, creating the three-dimensional version for 3D-capable theaters, and preparing various cuts for different international markets with different content rating requirements. The film needed to be prepared for IMAX presentation, which required specific formatting and optimization to take advantage of the larger screen format. Audio mixes needed to be created for various sound systems, including Dolby Digital, SDDS, Dolby Surround 7.1, and Euro 11.1. The UK release of the film required specific modifications to obtain the desired rating from the British Board of Film Classification. The distributor chose to remove one instance of mild profanity to secure a U classification, universal, suitable for all ages, rather than the PG rating an uncut version would have received. This type of content adjustment for different markets is common in post-production for major theatrical releases. Quality control checking occurred throughout the post-production process, with teams scrutinizing the film for any technical errors, visual inconsistencies, or other issues that might have slipped through the production process. This included checking for rendering artifacts, audio glitches, subtitle accuracy, and countless other details. The film was reviewed multiple times by different teams to catch any problems before the master files were finalized. The creation of various promotional materials also occurred during post-production. This included editing together different versions of the theatrical trailer, creating television spots of various lengths, preparing clips for use in interviews and press appearances, and generating still images for use in print advertising and online promotion. These materials needed to showcase the film effectively while avoiding major spoilers that might diminish the theatrical experience. Post-production wrapped in late 2018 as the film approached its theatrical release date. The completed master files were delivered to Universal Pictures for distribution, marking the end of a production process that had spanned several years from the initial announcement through pre-production, animation, and post-production. The film was now ready to be shared with audiences worldwide. Music played an integral role in The Grinch, with the score and soundtrack helping to establish the film's emotional tone while connecting it to the rich musical tradition of previous adaptations. The music for the film came from multiple sources, combining original compositions, classic Christmas songs, and contemporary performances that bridge traditional holiday music with modern styles. Danny Elfman composed the film's original score, bringing his distinctive musical voice to the project. Elfman, renowned for his work on films ranging from Batman to The Nightmare Before Christmas, has established himself as one of Hollywood's most recognizable composers. His decision to score The Grinch stemmed from Illumination's dedication to honoring Dr. Seuss's original story. Elfman appreciated that the filmmakers weren't planning to radically transform the source material, noting that while they would expand it into a feature-length film, they remained committed to respecting the Seussian spirit that made the story so beloved. The score consisted of 25 individual tracks, released digitally and on CD by Backlot Music on November 9, 2018, coinciding with the film's theatrical release. Elfman's orchestral compositions ranged from whimsical and playful pieces accompanying the host's Christmas preparations to darker, more ominous themes associated with the Grinch's isolation and his plot to steal Christmas. The composer incorporated various musical techniques and instrumental combinations characteristic of his style, drawing on the compositional approaches he had developed throughout his career dating back to the 1990s. The score received generally positive reviews from critics and audiences. Reviewers praised Elfman's ability to create rich, varied arrangements that supported the film's emotional journey while maintaining an appropriately festive atmosphere. The main theme, once identified amid the score's various movements, was noted as effective and memorable. The orchestrations demonstrated Elfman's skill at creating lush, full-bodied musical environments that enhanced the visual splendor of the animation. The action sequences were supported by boisterous, energetic music that added excitement without overwhelming the on-screen events. Some critics noted that the score, while professionally crafted and effective, represented Elfman working in a somewhat familiar mode rather than pushing into entirely new territory. One reviewer described it as Elfman on autopilot, suggesting that while the music was respectful and effective, it didn't necessarily break new ground for the composer. However, this familiarity wasn't necessarily viewed as a negative, as Elfman's established musical style suited the material well and provided exactly what the film needed. The score incorporated themes and musical ideas from the original 1966 television special, paying homage to the classic adaptation while developing these ideas in new directions. This connection to the earlier version helped create a sense of continuity across the different Grinch adaptations while establishing this new version's musical identity. Elfman skillfully balanced these competing demands, creating music that honored tradition while sounding fresh and contemporary. Tyler, the creator's involvement brought a distinctly modern musical sensibility to the project. The rapper and producer contributed two significant songs, I Am the Grinch and a reimagined version of You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. Tyler's participation represented an attempt to connect the film with younger, more contemporary audiences while his hip-hop aesthetic might not typically associate with Dr. Seuss adaptations. You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, originally written by Albert Haig with lyrics by Dr. Seuss himself, has been a staple of Grinch adaptations since the original television special. Tyler, the creator, and Danny Elfman collaborated on creating a new arrangement of this iconic song for the 2018 film. This version maintained the song's memorable melody and sardonic lyrics while incorporating modern production techniques and Tyler's distinctive vocal style. The collaboration between Elfman and Tyler proved challenging but ultimately rewarding, with both artists working to bridge their different musical backgrounds and approaches. Elfman later described the collaborative process, noting that some suggested adjustments involved chord changes designed to bring more of the original song's sound into Tyler's version. He approached this task carefully, wanting to maintain the integrity of Tyler's artistic vision while ensuring the final product would satisfy both studio expectations and fans of the original song. Elfman expressed respect for Tyler's work and a reluctance to whitewash an artist's creative efforts, describing the process as a tightrope act between different expectations and artistic approaches. You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch in its new form was featured prominently in the film's final trailer and appeared early in the film itself. Released on October 24, 2018, ahead of the film's premiere, the song generated significant buzz and helped raise awareness of the film among audiences who might not typically follow animated releases. The track was performed and produced by Tyler, the creator, with Elfman providing arrangement support. Tyler appeared courtesy of Columbia Records, which also handled the soundtrack's release. I Am the Grinch, Tyler's original composition for the film, was released alongside the complete soundtrack on November 9, 2018. This track, entirely written, performed, and produced by Tyler, offered a more contemporary hip-hop sound while maintaining thematic connections to the story. Danny Elfman contributed string arrangement to the track, adding orchestral elements that helped bridge Tyler's modern production with the film's more traditional scoring. The song played over the film's end credits, sending audiences out of theaters with an upbeat, contemporary sound that contrasted with the more traditional Christmas music featured throughout the film. Tyler also produced and released an extended play titled Music Inspired by Illumination Dr. Seuss the Grinch, distributed by Columbia Records on November 16, 2018. This 6-track release expanded on his work for the film, offering additional songs inspired by the story and characters. The EP demonstrated Tyler's enthusiasm for the project and his willingness to engage deeply with the source material. The soundtrack album, distinct from the score album, consisted of 13 tracks performed by various artists. This compilation combined Tyler's contributions with both classic holiday songs and contemporary performances. The track listing included Christmases by Run-D.M.C., Deck the Halls by Jackie Wilson, Run Rudolph Run by the Brian Setzer Orchestra, My Favorite Things by the Supremes, and That You Santa Claus by Buster Poindexter and His Banshees of Blue. The soundtrack also featured Christmas in Hollis by Run-D.M.C., Jingle Bells by the Brian Setzer Orchestra, the Christmas song, Merry Christmas to You, by Nat King Cole, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen by Pentatonix, and 2 instrumental pieces from Elfman's score, A Wonderful Awful Idea and Stealing Christmas. The inclusion of both classic recordings and contemporary arrangements helped the soundtrack appeal to a wide demographic range. Parents who grew up with traditional Christmas music could enjoy the Nat King Cole performance, while younger viewers might connect more readily with the hip-hop influenced tracks. This musical diversity reflected the film's goal of creating a version of the Grinch that would resonate across generations. Pentatonix's a cappella arrangement of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen added a distinctive vocal texture to the soundtrack. The popular vocal group's arrangement featured complex harmonies and vocal percussion that demonstrated their signature style while honoring the traditional Christmas carol. Their participation helped connect the film to contemporary pop culture while maintaining the Christmas musical tradition. The integration of Brazilian jazz standard Brazil, performed by Jeff and Maria Muldaur, added an unexpected musical element to certain scenes in the film. This choice reflected the filmmakers' willingness to incorporate diverse musical styles rather than limiting themselves strictly to traditional Christmas songs and orchestral scoring. The soundtrack was released in multiple formats to accommodate different consumer preferences and technologies. Digital downloads became available through various online platforms on the film's release date. Physical CD versions were released simultaneously for those who still preferred tangible media. A vinyl pressing of the soundtrack followed on December 21, 2018. Catering to the resurgent vinyl record market. Additional vinyl pressings were released on December 25, 2020, and November 5, 2021, suggesting continued demand for the physical format well after the film's initial release. The Japanese version of the soundtrack included an exclusive track by the electronic pop group Perfume titled Tiny Baby. This localized edition demonstrated the production's commitment to tailoring the musical experience for different international markets, recognizing that different regions might respond to different musical styles. The music's reception generally aligned with the mixed critical response to the film overall. Viewers who appreciated the contemporary musical choices praised the soundtrack's synergy and accessibility, while those who preferred a more traditional approach sometimes found the hip-hop elements jarring or out of place. The inclusion of Tyler, the creator's work proved particularly divisive, with some reviewers criticizing the hip-hop songs as incongruous with the film's setting and tone while others appreciated the attempt to modernize the musical approach. Released theatrical, The Grinch premiered in theaters across the United States on November 9, 2018, distributed by Universal Pictures. The release date was strategically chosen to position the film early in the holiday season, allowing it to build momentum through Thanksgiving and into December as families looked for seasonal entertainment options. Originally, the film had been scheduled for release on November 10, 2017, but the date was pushed back a full year to allow additional time for production and to avoid competition with other major releases. The film opened in 4,140 theaters across the United States and Canada, representing one of the widest theatrical releases of the year. This saturation booking strategy reflected Universal's confidence in the property and their belief that the combination of the beloved Dr. Seuss story, Illumination's animation pedigree, and strong marketing would attract substantial audiences. The wide release ensured that the film would be accessible to viewers in markets large and small, from major metropolitan multiplexes to smaller suburban and rural theaters. The Grinch was presented in multiple formats to accommodate different theater capabilities and viewer preferences. Standard two-dimensional presentations were available in most locations, while theaters equipped for three-dimensional projection offered 3D screenings with higher ticket prices. Select IMAX theaters presented the film in their large format, high-resolution format, providing an enhanced viewing experience for audiences willing to pay premium prices. Some presentations utilized RELD 3D technology, a popular system for three-dimensional theatrical exhibition. The marketing campaign for The Grinch was extensive and multifaceted, reflecting Universal's substantial investment in promoting the film. The studio spent an estimated $121 million on worldwide marketing and promotion, a figure that exceeded the film's $75 million production budget. This substantial marketing spend demonstrated the importance Universal placed on the film's success and their commitment to maximizing its box office potential. Beginning in October 2018, Eye-catching billboards appeared in major markets featuring the Grinch along with mean or ironic messages that played on the character's curmudgeonly personality. These billboards generated social media attention and helped build awareness of the film's impending release. The marketing played up the Grinch's grumpy persona while hinting at the heartwarming story underneath, attempting to appeal to both fans of the character's cantankerous nature and those drawn to the tale's ultimately uplifting message. Universal and Illumination partnered with numerous companies to create promotional tie-ins and cross-marketing opportunities. Wonderful Pistachios, Bates, Up, and 23andMe were among the promotional partners, contributing approximately $80 million worth of advertising value to the campaign. These partnerships helped extend the film's marketing reach beyond traditional movie advertising, placing Grinch-related content and promotions in grocery stores, restaurants, and various retail environments where potential moviegoers would encounter them in their daily lives. To build anticipation for the film, a giant inflatable balloon featuring the Grinch made its first appearance at the 91st Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City on November 23, 2017, a full year before the film's release. This early promotional appearance at one of America's most watched holiday events helped establish the film's presence in the public consciousness well in advance of its theatrical debut. The balloon returned for the 2018 parade, providing another high-profile promotional opportunity just as the film was playing in theaters. 3 theatrical trailers were released in the months leading up to the film's premiere, each revealing additional footage while attempting to avoid giving away too much of the story. The trailers emphasize the film's humor, visual splendor, and heart, attempting to position it as appropriate entertainment for the entire family. They prominently featured Tyler, the creator's reimagined version of You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, helping to establish the film's contemporary sensibility alongside its classic source material. The film's rating of PG, parental guidance suggested, for brief rude humor positioned it as family-friendly entertainment accessible to viewers of all ages while acknowledging some content that parents might want to be aware of before taking very young children. This rating struck a balance between maintaining the broad appeal necessary for a holiday family film and allowing for comedic moments that might push slightly beyond the G rating's more restrictive boundaries. In December 2018, following the film's theatrical release, the Grinch and Max made cameo appearances in WNBC and WNJU's holiday sing-along promotion, further extending the film's presence in holiday-themed media. These appearances helped maintain awareness of the film as it continued its theatrical run through the Christmas season. The film opened internationally in addition to its domestic release, though the rollout occurred gradually rather than all at once. The Grinch debuted at number 1 in 30 territories, including Norway, Mongolia, Thailand, Iceland, Romania, France, Spain, Belgium, Greece, and New Zealand. This international success reflected the broader appeal of the Dr. Seuss property, though performance varied significantly by region based on local familiarity with the story and characters. Critical reception for the theatrical release was decidedly mixed. The film held an approval rating of 60% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 195 reviews, with an average rating of 6 out of 10. The site's critical consensus summarized the general reaction. The Grinch gives the classic Seuss source material a brightly animated update that's solidly suitable for younger viewers without adding substantially to the story's legacy. This assessment captured both the film's strengths as a technically proficient, entertaining piece of animation and its perceived shortcomings in terms of originality and creative ambition. On Metacritic, the film received a weighted average score of 51 out of 100 based on 32 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. This middling score reflected the divided critical opinion, with some reviewers praising the film's visual appeal and heart while others criticized it as unnecessary and uninspired. The Metacritic score placed the film squarely in the middle range of critical reception, neither a critical darling nor a universally panned failure. Audience response proved more positive than critical reaction. Viewers polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A- on the organization's A+ to F scale. This solid grade indicated that most moviegoers enjoyed the film even if critics were more ambivalent. Post-Track reported that filmgoers gave the film an 83% positive score and a 75% definite recommend rating, further demonstrating the disparity between critical and popular response. The theatrical run of The Grinch extended well beyond its opening weekend, with the film demonstrating strong legs throughout the holiday season. Its November release date allowed it to benefit from the Thanksgiving holiday period, when many families sought out entertainment options during their extended time off from work and school. The film continued to perform well through December as audiences looked for seasonal, family-friendly content that matched the Christmas spirit. Home media. Following its successful theatrical run, The Grinch transitioned to home video formats, allowing audiences to enjoy the film in their own homes. Universal Pictures Home Entertainment handled the domestic home video release, making the film available through various platforms to accommodate different consumer preferences and technologies. The film debuted on digital HD on January 22, 2019, slightly more than 2 months after its theatrical premiere. This digital release made the film available for purchase or rental through various online platforms, including iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, Google Play, and others. The digital release also utilized Movies Anywhere, a service that allows consumers to access their purchased digital films across multiple platforms and devices. This early digital availability catered to consumers who preferred immediate access and the convenience of digital media over physical formats. Physical media formats followed shortly after the digital release. On February 5, 2019, The Grinch became available on DVD, Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, and Ultra HD Blu-ray, also known as 4K Ultra HD. This multi-format release strategy ensured that the film would be accessible regardless of consumers' home video equipment. The standard DVD version offered the most basic presentation at the lowest price point, suitable for viewers without high-definition equipment. The Blu-ray version provided high-definition video and audio for those with appropriate playback equipment. The Blu-ray 3D version catered to the relatively small market of consumers with 3D-capable televisions and Blu-ray players. The Ultra HD Blu-ray version represented the highest quality home video format available, offering 4,000 pixel resolution and high dynamic range color for viewers with the latest display technology. The home video release also became available on demand through cable and satellite television providers, allowing viewers to rent or purchase the film through their television service providers. This distribution method reached consumers who might not frequent physical retailers or prefer not to purchase digital downloads. The home video editions came packed with substantial bonus content, offering over 60 minutes of supplementary material beyond the main feature. This extensive collection of extras enhanced the value proposition for consumers considering purchasing the film rather than simply renting it. The bonus features provided insight into the film's creation while offering additional entertainment value. The home video release included 3 mini-movies that expanded on the world and characters of the main feature. Yellow is the New Black had been released theatrically alongside The Grinch, screening before the main feature in theaters. This Minions short film, while not directly related to the Grinch story, appealed to fans of Illumination's most popular characters. The Dog Days of Winter focused on the Grinch and Max, offering additional adventures with these beloved characters. This mini-movie had previously aired on NBC on November 23, 2018. Following a broadcast of the original 1966 How the Grinch Stole Christmas television special and preceding Trolls Holiday, Santa's Little Helpers provided another Minions adventure, giving fans of those characters additional content. The making of the mini-movies offered behind-the-scenes insight into how the supplementary shorts were created, providing a glimpse into Illumination's animation process. This feature appealed to viewers interested in animation techniques and the creative decisions behind these additional productions. From Green to Screen documented the journey of bringing the Grinch from the page to the screen, likely featuring interviews with the directors, producers, animators, and voice actors. This type of making of documentary has become standard for major animated releases, offering fans insight into the creative and technical challenges of modern animation production. Who's Who in Whoville provided an interactive map of the film's setting and characters. This feature allowed viewers to explore the world of the film in greater depth, learning more about the various inhabitants of Whoville and the locations where the story takes place. The interactive nature of this bonus feature took advantage of the capabilities of digital formats and Blu-ray technology. My earliest Grinch memories likely featured cast and crew members sharing their personal connections to previous Grinch adaptations and their childhood memories of encountering the character. This type of nostalgic feature helps connect the new adaptation to the broader cultural legacy of Dr. Seuss's creation. A lyric video for You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch in Tyler. The creator's version provided a music video-style presentation of the song with on-screen lyrics. This feature catered to viewers who might want to sing along or simply enjoy the song outside the context of the film. Songs from His Little Heart explore the film's musical elements, possibly including behind-the-scenes footage of Danny Elfman working on the score or discussions of the musical choices made for the production. Grinky gadgets focused on the various inventions and contraptions the Grinch created for his Christmas stealing scheme. This feature examined the creative process behind designing these devices and how they were brought to life through animation. Any Who Can Draw provided drawing tutorials teaching viewers how to sketch the film's main characters, the Grinch, Max, and Fred. These step-by-step guides offered a hands-on bonus feature that encouraged creative engagement with the film, particularly appealing to younger viewers interested in art. Cindy Lou's Yule Log offered a holiday-themed video that could be played as ambient background during Christmas celebrations, similar to the traditional television Yule Log broadcasts. This feature allowed fans to extend the film's presence in their homes beyond simply watching the movie itself. The home video release performed well commercially, benefiting from the film's strong theatrical performance and its position as a new entry in the perennially popular Christmas film genre. Holiday films traditionally experience strong home video sales as consumers build their collections of seasonal entertainment to watch year after year. The Grinch's status as part of the Dr. Seuss legacy and Illumination's strong brand recognition among families with children contributed to robust home video sales. The various physical formats were identified by different UPC codes. The DVD release used UPC 025192367977. The standard Blu-ray used 025192368059, and the 4K Ultra HD Plus Blu-ray combo pack used 191,329,082,287. These identifying numbers helped retailers and consumers distinguish between the different available formats. The home video release received positive consumer reviews, with purchasers praising the film's visual quality in high-definition formats and the extensive collection of bonus features. The 4K Ultra HD version particularly impressed viewers with compatible display equipment, showcasing the film's vibrant colors and detailed animation to maximum effect. Reception box office. The Grinch proved to be a substantial commercial success, ultimately becoming the highest-grossing Christmas film in history and the highest-grossing Dr. Seuss film adaptation. The film's box office performance exceeded industry expectations and demonstrated the enduring appeal of the character and story across multiple generations of moviegoers. In the United States and Canada, The Grinch was projected to gross between $55 and $65 million during its opening weekend. The film debuted on Friday, November 9th, earning $18.67 million on its first day of wide release. This was slightly below the most optimistic projections but better than the film's preview night earnings had suggested. The Friday performance set the stage for a strong opening weekend, including the extended Veterans Day holiday weekend. The Grinch earned $67.57 million domestically in its first 3 days of release, expanding to approximately $78.2 million when Monday's receipts were included. This performance represented the biggest opening weekend for a Christmas-themed movie at that time, surpassing previous records and demonstrating the strong audience interest in the film. The opening weekend total came remarkably close to the film's $75 million production budget, essentially allowing the film to recoup its production costs domestically before wider distribution revenues were even calculated. The film opened in first place at the domestic box office, fending off competition from The Girl in the Spider's Web and Overlord, both of which underperformed relative to their own expectations. This lack of strong competition in the family film category helped The Grinch maintain strong attendance throughout its opening weekend and beyond. The Grinch received an A- grade from audiences polled by CinemaScore, a solid if not exceptional rating that suggested most viewers enjoyed the film even if they weren't completely overwhelmed by it. This grade, combined with the 75% definite recommend score from post-track polling, indicated positive word of mouth that would help sustain the film's box office performance in subsequent weeks. The film demonstrated remarkable staying power throughout November and December. The Thanksgiving holiday period proved particularly lucrative, with families seeking out entertainment options during the extended holiday weekend. The Grinch earned approximately $159 million during November and December 2018 combined, showcasing its ability to continue attracting audiences well beyond its opening weekend. This represented excellent legs in industry terminology, indicating that the film appealed to audiences repeatedly rather than simply benefiting from opening weekend curiosity. By the end of its theatrical run, The Grinch had grossed $271.4 million in the United States and Canada. This domestic performance made it the sixth highest grossing film of 2018 overall and the second highest grossing animated film of the year, trailing only Incredibles 2. The domestic total significantly exceeded the $269 million earned by the 2000 live-action version starring Jim Carrey, though that earlier film's gross hadn't been adjusted for inflation.